Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program, or Saturday sports special to be exact. And on this weekend's program, we'll be discussing the whole issue of sports, well, CARICOM, Caribbean sports, right? Yes, as you know, there's been lots of discussions of recent since, the third test in Jamaica for West Indies. The team was bowled out for 27 runs and a lot of discussions and uh, insights into cricket, West Indies cricket, and the development, and all these sort of things. But at the same time, there are some who have been a bit concerned that CARICOM's, or the heads of CARICOM, that's the heads of government of CARICOM and the member countries, have been too fixated on cricket. They tend to concentrate a lot on cricket than any other sport. And they believe that it's time for a multi-approach to sports in general, not just cricket. The Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees, the CANOC, they have been expressing concerns about CARICOM's fixation on cricket. And as they said, at the level of CANOC, they understand and remain very appreciative of the efforts of heads of government of the region in respect of the concerns they have had for the fortunes of West Indies cricket. Basically, the first sporting institution from this part of the world to engage itself in international sporting competition. As you know, West Indies have been involved in cricket for quite a period of time, right? And probably more than any other sporting discipline, right? And therefore, the physical infrastructure in every Caribbean country has been provided, for the most part, by the respective governments. When you look at all the stadia that have been constructed, they have been built by governments, right? And they are very grateful for the support that the sport has received with the hosting of international and regional competitions that have sort of delighted populations everywhere. We have hosted the 2007 ICC World Cup, and then you have the CPL, and then you have other, we have the global tournament in Guyana. So, lots of it. But as many cricket historians have placed on record, cricket once held the aspirations of the people of the Caribbean, and the sport was a means of helping the Caribbean showcase its talent on the field of play and prove themselves capable of holding head-to-head matches. However, of recent, we have seen what history has shown. And therefore, they are now looking at whether or not other sporting disciplines, because when you look at history, you have the likes of track and field, particularly the sporting experience. When you look at Jamaica back then, in the 40s and 50s, the Arthur Wint, Hub McKinley, and the relay teams and all of that in the 1948 and 52 Olympics respectively. And then you have of recent the Bolt and Kirani James and Shelley and Fraser Price and Julian Alfred and others. And then you have the footballers who have shown their worth as well and continue to prove attractive to international professional teams around the world. So it remains that in the face of the sporting success, that CARICOM heads apparently, and that's what CANOC is saying, that CARICOM heads apparently got stuck in the level of cricket, being seen and treated by them as the single most important sport that holds significance to the peoples of the Caribbean, and not even considering the world record-breaking performances and dominance of the Usain Bolt that allowed the region's political leadership to turn their attention to the global impact of athletics on the international standing as a result of sport. So they're saying it's probably time for heads to give attention, not just to cricket, but to other sporting disciplines. Track and field, swimming, netball, football, just name it. You know, we had the president of NACAC, the North American and Central American Caribbean Athletic Association, who have been calling for a sit down with CARICOM to discuss not just athletics, but sports in general. Even though he is the president of NACAC, he says, listen, this is something where we can bring all the regional federations, the heads of whether it's NACAC, CWI, CFU, you know, let's name them. Bring them together and discuss and chart a way forward for the development of sports, not just cricket, because we see that CARICOM has a special conference on symposium only on cricket, and that has been happening for a while. But what's about the other sports? The other sports have brought a lot of glory. We have seen during World Championships and Olympic Games the sort of attention the Caribbean gets as well from their sporting stars, and not just from Jamaica. Yes, Jamaica has been the leader for the Caribbean over the years, but we are seeing Grenada and St. Lucia and Dominica and all the others are now, getting that sort of attention. St. Lucia, everyone getting some level of attention these days, and therefore it's probably time for the regional leaders to give attention to other sports. What do you think? I want to get some of your comments. I can share some of your comments and hear what you have to say about that. As one person said, they had agree with CANOC. Cricket is part of our history, right? And we do have world-class athletes. So, it's probably time that we get, some of these folks to understand the importance. Let me see. Let me get one of these comments here for you. Tell you what you think about it. It says, I fully agree with CANOC. Cricket is part of our history, but we have world-class athletes in track and field, boxing, swimming, and cycling who deserve the same recognition and investment. So yes, they're saying that, they do deserve sort of recognition. And let's see, yeah. They add in that CARICOM must create a balanced sports development strategy, not just focus on cricket. So let me get it from the start. Says, I fully agree with CANOC. Cricket is part of our history, but we have world-class athletes in track and field, boxing, swimming, and cycling who deserve the recognition and investment. CARICOM must create a balanced sports development strategy, not just focus on cricket. Keep the comments coming. Let's see if we can get some more from you. Probably will share that in a while. Again, some other comments. Let's see, this one is another one that is coming in now. Let's see it. See if I can get it. Cricket. Let's see this one. Says that cricket is more than just a sport. It's a cultural legacy that unites the Caribbean like no other game. While I respect other sports, we shouldn't dilute our identity. We shouldn't Let me see if I get everything. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, it says here at the end, cricket must remain at the heart of our sporting agenda. So let me get everything again. Cricket is more than just a sport. It's a cultural legacy that unites the Caribbean like no other game. While I respect other sports, we shouldn't dilute our identity. Cricket must remain at the heart of our sporting agenda. Keep the comments coming. Let me see if there are any more for now. No, there isn't. Yes, yeah. So that was 1 for, 1 against, it seems. Let me see. Yep. So we can get some more comments in a moment. But definitely we see that it's a sort of, you know, up and down, I should say. But folks seem to be of the view that it shouldn't be just cricket, right? It should not just be cricket. They understand the cultural legacy of cricket, right? But they don't believe it should just be cricket. And certainly it's something that folks will be looking at in terms of the discussion. And I'm certain that I will get some more comments from folks in a moment on that, right? But let me see if there's another comment that just came in there. Let me see if I can get that to you. It's yeah, right, here it is. It says that cricket is yes, cricket is our heritage, but it shouldn't overshadow the incredible achievements of athletes like Shelley Fraser-Price or Kirani James, right? Right? It continues that yeah. CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others. So this seems to be a balanced comment. Cricket is our heritage, but it shouldn't overshadow the incredible achievements of athletes like Shelley Fraser-Price or Kirani James. CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others. So, right. So we had 1 for, seemed 1 against, and 1 seems to be just in the middle of the road, a balanced one in terms of, right, about that. But certainly, there are a lot of folks who believe that, you know, the heads, I don't know if you agree with that, that regional heads have been placing too much focus on cricket at the detriment of other sports. Just about every of the Caribbean countries have a cricket stadium, right? And there are other sporting disciplines that have been, you know, crying out for assistance in terms of facilities. Let's look, for example, it's probably almost 10 years now. Barbados have been without a track and field, well, a top class track and field stadium. They have the Usain Bolt complex at UWI, at Cavell, but in terms of the facility that was once, that's not there again, right? However, during that period, Kensington Oval has been upgraded, has been modernized, has been expanded, you know, and things like that. So Dominica has built cricket stadium. St. Lucia has a cricket stadium. Grenada has a cricket stadium. Antigua has a stadium. St. Kitts has a stadium. Trinidad has about 3, probably 2 or 3. You have the Brian Lara, they have the Oval, you know, and things like that. So Guyana has border. Well, yeah. So just about, Jamaica has Sabina Park, and they are now talking about upgrading the national stadium that has been in disrepair for a number of years, right? They're not talking about building a new stadium. Hopefully, we'll have it in probably 2029. So you see, the focus over the years has been on either constructing a cricket stadium or enhancing or remodeling or whatever it is, at the detriment of other sporting disciplines, whether it's swimming. When you look at our regional swimmers are doing pretty well. Yeah, they are doing well. When you look at our track and field athletes, they are probably among the best in the world. And we're talking about track and field. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Edwin Sam. I hope everything is okay. Greetings to you. Yeah, right? When you look at the exploits of even Julian Alfred, for example, and mind you, we heard from Ryan O'Brien last week. He's from St. Lucia, a journalist from St. Lucia. And he was basically saying that the athletic stadium in St. Lucia has been basically out of commission. Well, the track is there, but they're using the facility itself as a hospital, because remember, the hospital was destroyed by fire some years ago. And since then, they have been using part of the stadium as a hospital. Okay, at the detriment of track and field. Cricket is not affected, but they are producing world-class athletes. We have Julian Alfred, and we have some young athletes when you look at the Curfew Games who are coming up, right? Yeah. So is track and field and other sports are suffering at the expense of cricket? That's the argument, When you look at, well, in the case of Grenada, we have a balance, you would say. The cricket stadium has just been refurbished. But when you look at our exploits in track and field, not just Kirani James, we're talking about homegrown athletes like Lyndon Victor, Anderson Peters. They are homegrown, right? And they are world performers, right? Dominica has triple jumper, right? And she's a gold medalist, but Dominica does not have a track, synthetic track, but they do have a world-class cricket stadium. They can host international cricket games. St. Vincent does not, as yet. They have to talk about, getting a stadium, etc., etc. But the Annersville hosts international cricket, and they do a lot of work on Annersville, to host international matches and things like that. So you see the focus on, for those regional heads, have been basically cricket. And we're not saying no. And when you look at the argument by CANOC, they're saying they're basically calling for a balanced approach, right? And if I can just, they're saying in the face of rapidly global change and economic uncertainty, CARICOM leaders must move to embrace sport in its multifaceted nature, well beyond the narrow confines of cricket. While remaining committed to the rich legacy of cricket, the reality of our successes in an increasing number of other sports must push us to an acknowledgement that we can benefit economically, socially, and otherwise as a region through the opportunities for building upon the solidarity and unity that sport engenders. CANOC therefore appeals to CARICOM leaders to facilitate a broad-based regional discourse on sport as a major pillar of regional development through unity. It says we must right the wrongs of our failure to build on the positive of the concept of the West Indies Federation to create a new Caribbean that takes its rightful place amongst the international community, looking after the common interests of our people. So there are those who certainly agrees with CANOC that there's too much focus on cricket. Not because what's happening with cricket, I mean, the rules of West Indies cricket is not yesterday, that have been going on for a while. And they have been talking about cricket for probably the development of cricket, the resuscitation of cricket, whatever it is of West Indies cricket, but probably the past 10 years. You know, they have set up committees, and in fact, there's a prime ministerial subcommittee on cricket, not sports, on cricket. And I think that's the sort of concern that they're having regarding, you know, the focus on cricket and not on other sports. And sometimes it's not just about, you know, the finance, right? But sometimes it's about, you know, when it comes to probably facilities, you know, all these sort of things. You know, development as itself, you know. I know there has been a debate of recent between Cricket West Indies saying that, you know, the role of government should be this and that, and Cricket West Indies' role should be this and that. What's about the role of government in terms of the development of sports? Defining the role, you know, government's role in the development of sports and not just cricket, right? For example, in the Grenada context, we now have the National Sports Council and the Parish Sports Councils, right? Would their focus be only on cricket, on the development of cricket, grassroots cricket? Hopefully not. It will be on the development and grassroots sports, the development of sports at the grassroots level. That is how, and that is the hope. That is not just cricket, but sports in general, right? Let me see any more comments coming in there. No, I have not. Yeah. Cricket is king, but should it rule alone? Beyond the boundaries, cricket overshadowing other Caribbean sports. Whoa. Yeah. All right. So we got these there. Ooh. So should CARICOM broaden its focus beyond cricket? That's the first question. Let's see if I can. Yes. Should it? Should it? Should it? Do you think it? Yeah. Should CARICOM broaden its sports focus beyond cricket? Yes, all sports deserve equal attention. Then there is no cricket is our cultural identity, and then maybe, but cricket should still lead. Do you think? Is it yes, no, or maybe? Yes, no, or maybe. Should CARICOM broaden its focus beyond cricket? Should it be yes, all sports deserve equal attention? No, cricket is our cultural identity, or maybe, but cricket should still lead. I don't know. That's for you to discuss. That's for you to define, right? Certainly, right. I know Mr. Mike Sands has been the one who has been really pushing for that, for the, I should say for some level of attention to other sports, right? Yeah, right. For some level of attention, right? Mr. Sands. And he has been one who has been saying over and over again, right, that there need to be a balance, right? A balance in terms of track and field, swimming, athletics. Well, let's say track and field, athletics, all the same. Volleyball, basketball, just name the sporting discipline in the Caribbean, even tennis, right? All of them should be getting that level of attention. And cricket is, yes, we do understand, right? We do understand that. But they should be able to to give us that level of attention, because government in the Caribbean, they have been providing basically the support over the years, right? They have been providing a lot of support over the years. And it appears that only when these sportsmen and sportswomen hit some level of stardom that we see some level of intervention by government and promises and etc., etc. And then after that, we hear nothing again until, the next cycle, right? But whether it's a victory or a loss, we hear comments from the various prime ministers through the region. We hear about setting up of committees. We hear about congratulations, and all these sort of things. We don't hear that for other sports, and that is what it's really the discussion about, the debate about, that should government be given, a more input into the development of sports across the board, and not just their fixation on cricket. My co-hosts will be joining me, both of them in Toronto, as a matter of fact, this weekend, and they'll be joining me in a moment to Richard, who is standing by, and also Rudian, who will be joining me to discuss more about that in the next half an hour. All right, you'll hear some insights from those guys in terms of that. Richard has been involved in not just track and field, but other sports as a sports editor. Rudian, as you know, involved a lot in track and field, and certainly has been my sidekick for the past few years in terms of the program, right? And certainly the comment from some of the folks coming on has been sort of interesting, and I say that because there's one who gives support that cricket is our legacy, it's our heritage, so they understand why the heads are putting more into cricket. In fact, they put a lot of money into cricket, because even when it comes to hosting, right, they themselves put a lot of they take care of the not just the facility, because they own the facility, but in terms of security and other logistics and things like that. So the governments put a lot of money into that. They do, right? So you'll find sometimes that there's a reason why they have been asking for more. Good afternoon to you, Gordon, and blessings to you. Blessings to you. Yeah. So, folks, any more of your comments? Will I read it? If not, then we. Woo! Okay. Let me see if I can. All right. Let me see. Right. Seems as if some folks are they're having some problems trying to get on, but certainly I'll see how I can get them on. There are some folks who are telling me that they're trying to make a contribution but are unable to do so, not getting through. Okay, so I'll see what I can do on your end and make some comments on that. Right? Yeah, yeah. I'm just laughing because some comments that coming in, but not really for for discussion. It's just some comments regarding CARICOM's fixation on those things. By the way, Richard, when you're ready, just let me know. I'll be able to let you in. Rudian as well. I know you're standing by there. It's 1:31. Yeah. So more of that. Which sport best represents the Caribbean on the global stage today? Cricket, track and field, swimming, or other? Which one? Cricket. Which sport best represents the Caribbean on the global stage today? Edwin, I want to hear from you. Which sport? Which sport? Is it cricket? Is it track and field? Is it swimming or some other sport? Which one? Let me hear from you. And I have another one for you, Do you think CARICOM invests enough in sports development across the region? Yes, no, or not sure? That's a tough one, man. That's tough. That's tough, I know. But let me hear from you in regard to which sport best represents the Caribbean on the global stage today. Cricket, track and field, swimming. Which one? Yeah. Should CARICOM run? Let me see. All right. Yeah. All right. Which sport best represents the Caribbean on the global stage today? Cricket, track and field, swimming, or other? All right. Let me get your mic cover. All right. Richard. All right. So Richard is joining me. I say good afternoon to you, Richard, because yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine, Richard. Thank you.
Big topic, man.
Yes.
Major topic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just put up one there that's scrolling on the bottom, right? And I don't know if you've seen it there. It has to do with which sport best represent the Caribbean on the global stage as it is now. Cricket? Is it cricket? Is it track and field? Is it swimming or some other sport? Hit away.
I can tell you this much, for all my years in sports, Caribbean people, it's always going to be cricket. Always going to be cricket, because that's the only sport that, as a people, that had united us. That's for one. It's the only sport that we travel across the region to see at any one time. It's the only sport that we all play together, and even when we play in regional cricket, it's like it's not a competition. I mean, Trinidad and Jamaica have a little thing going on from time to time, but cricket is something that is played across the Caribbean more like lots of friendly things. Lots of friends became friends and all that. And this has been playing for years, so cricket represents the number one sport across the region, based on what I know for years. In Jamaica, cricket is the biggest thing. As I said last week, cricket is a sport that everybody went out and they bought a radio in the past. Everybody had a transistor radio, and that has been going on for years. I tell you this much. West Indies cricket is down right now. Really down. But yet still, a lot of people come out to watch the game. The Savannah Park was really full. But a lot of people came out to watch it, and who didn't come out was still glued to the TV, watching the game. Even though we're losing and losing badly too, people still come out and watch a thing.
But that might be so. But what's about in terms of global attention on the global stage? Do you think cricket is still basically representing the Caribbean? I mean, once upon a time it was,
Yeah, it is still viewed as, if we were supposed to go pull up numbers right now, track and field has grown past cricket internationally. As it is right now, because right now on the global stage, there's a lot of high performance international track and field stars right across the region. St. Lucia got into gold medals of recent times. So Dominica got into medal of recent times. Last Olympics we had quite a bit of medals. Right?
Yeah.
Countries that had never in the region that had never gotten medals. They've been getting Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad. They've always been there, but Grenada, Karani. We have so much countries now that has gotten global medals and continue to make big spark on the international circuit. If you think about cricket, Kenny Benjamin's sons choose to run for the United States right now, and he's a gold medal winner. He could have chose to run for his country. Father's birth, right? But he chose. But that's a choice. But it's all about Caribbean background when it comes on to track and field, and it is quite documented and represented at all times. So even though he might have chose to run for the US, he's still, pay homage to his father place of birth, and that's where he comes from, and that's where he thinks his talent is coming from. So track and field, but why I still have a little bit of reservation with cricket and track and field is the fact that cricket is loved by Indians so much. Right, and their population is so huge. So if you go out and get some numbers right now, cricket might still be really up there or even above, the popularity of track and field. But track and field have been growing. Football had a little place, but soccer, it's not that much because we hadn't become world beaters yet, in football. But I don't want to give track and field the edge.
All right. So going back to the CANOC discussion in terms of the CANOC debate calling for CARICOM to give some attention to other sports, not just cricket, because they said CARICOM seems to be fixated on cricket, as we had a symposium just on cricket, not on sports. Caribbean leaders have been calling on, in fact, they have a prime minister subcommittee.
Yes.
Prime ministerial subcommittee on cricket, not sports again, right? So it seems as if Caribbean leaders, CARICOM leaders, have been given a lot of attention to the sport of cricket rather than sports in general. Whereas you made the point that we have seen over the years, for example, Usain Bolt, when Bolt was around, and Shelley and Fraser and Asafa Powell and Blake and all of that.
Yes.
They were basically not just representing Jamaica, but they were representing the Caribbean, right? Because yes, it was Jamaica, but then people start looking towards the Caribbean because at the same time you had those from the Bahamas that were doing their thing, right? And then later on, we had Grenada with the Kirani James and, the Anderson Peters and others that were coming up, right? So, but at the same time, we did not see that level of attention. Well, albeit, it was, mainly celebration. So CARICOM leaders probably felt there wasn't a need to have subcommittee to deal with as how they do it with cricket, because cricket was probably at the demise, But let me hear your comment.
I tell you, the whole thing about CARICOM focusing on cricket and why it came about is the fact that it was a Caribbean team.
Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah.
Caribbean team, so they had to put funds together as countries to fund the team. So hence the reason why they had to come together, and I understand that. But I'm fully at the point now, right, where I'm thinking that every country, as I said before, every country now have a level of representation at international sports in some way or the other. You know, some sport or the other, somewhere around the world, Caribbean countries are represented all the time, right? And there must be a change now, because the thing is not evolving. CARICOM is not evolving at all. As a matter of fact, CARICOM in politics, for the whole politics and the whole thing about Caribbean people coming together, CARICOM has not been doing any work at all, where it is concerned for even those things, right? Because even for the cricket, is that CARICOM, even though they come together and they're having all of this, it's just about talking. They're not making any decision.
Yeah, they have been talking for more than 10 years now, eh?
Yeah. There was a point in which they're talking about even funding cricket to a certain level, or giving a certain amount of their GDP to cricket, to the same cricket that they have formed the body for, right? Countries never want to put that money up to get cricket where it wants to be, because cricket need money. It need money for grassroots, it need money for development, it need money for all of those things. And it's the reason why we're at the place that we are at now, where we still don't have great cricket academy. They started to fund it, they started to do it, but it fall apart. So what you find is that CARICOM is just doing a lot of talking. It's just a body with no teeth. It has no bite at all, for many things, which including cricket. I support that CARICOM need to go beyond just cricket in terms of funding sports across the region, right? Because you have smaller countries, smaller economies that can't do certain things. Now, if we come together as a body and there is some funding somewhere, these other countries will be able to pull down on those funding, just like what we do for cricket, right? So we can do the same thing. But I tell you though, Michael, the fundamental thing about our leaders is that they are still at the place where they're thinking, and it's the same way they're treating the cricket, where they're thinking, right? And when I say they're thinking, because the actions demonstrate it, is that they treat sports still as an amateur thing that you're supposed to just be representing a country and be happy at doing that. They don't think of sports as a developing career, as a career that youngsters go to school, learn about, and then come and be professional at it. Right. You know, there's a couple of things. Learning, having an education in sports does not necessarily mean that you have to be the active sportsman or woman. There's so much great fundamental career that is involved in all levels of sports. You've done sports medicine. You have all kind of things, training. There's so much in technology now in sports that you have to have these people, because even for the same cricket, the scorer is not just the same basic guy with the book nowadays that sit down at the side of the rope and do the scoring. Scoring is a big analytical thing now. When teams travel, they travel with an analytical scorer. This is somebody who looks at the game in a particular way and can tell the captain, say, hey, listen, this is what is happening. This is what the trend is looking like. That. So it's a whole team of people now for teams, right? So you have many different careers that exist into sports. In Jamaica, we have GC Foster that is trying to do a lot of it. The Cuban government had given us that institution, years ago, right? We let it run all the way down to nothing. It's just of recent times that we start to want to get kids going into that school and make it into a university so that we can have degrees and we can have MBAs and that kind of a thing in terms of it. But those careers exist. So there's a big industry in sports. Now, Caribbean leaders still think that we are amateurs and we must do sports as amateur thing. Right? So it's the reason why they don't want to put money into it. They don't want to develop curriculums into universities that is going to, produce these level of people to support what athletes are requiring, what sportsmen and women across the region are requiring. The athletes are requiring a higher level of professionalism. People want pay. People don't want to just do it because of love for country anymore. This is not what it is.
Yeah.
CARICOM is at that level that people must do it for the love for country. It's the same thing them calling out West Indies cricket. I hear Clive Lloyd recently talk about, the youngsters only want to go play T20. Nobody want to play for West Indies anymore and that kind of a thing. They are the ones, the leaders are the ones who cause this kind of a thinking among the young sportsmen and women nowadays. It's because the countries are not putting things in place, money behind the thing, to support the growth and the professionalism of sports around the region. Right? And as you just said, Michael, is that it's all about celebration and you come back and you get a gold medal, or you win the T20 tournament, or you win the test game, you come back and then parade around the country, and that's it. People don't want that. Youngsters are not into that. Effort, you can't put your energy and your life on the line for coming home to celebration. You want to come home to something that after you finish, you have something to fall back on. Right? And it's the reason why even recently, we always have barbershop talks, right? And recently in the barbershop, we were looking at, great sportsmen and women and what they had. Most of these great people come up through humble beginnings,
Yeah.
Most of them come up through, is rarely you find somebody who is rich, becomes world beaters. Most of these athletes around the world, sportsmen and women, are from humble beginnings. No, you're coming from humble beginnings. You might even not have the wherewithal to be able to go to a university or a college, because that's what it was in the past. They wasn't able to go. They never have the money, right? Or there was never a part of the family that can help them to go. So sports was a way out to get to a college, to get to a university. It was a way out. No, it is beyond just having a way out to get to school. It now becomes a way for a career.
Yeah.
You understand? Because back in the lot of West Indies players, I have read so much West Indies players right today's date have fallen on seriously hard times. And these are the players who would have made West Indies cricket board financial situation look the way it looked today because of those players. But yet still, a lot of these players are out there struggling. Some of them can't find food today. These are the big name players. Can't find meals today. But what CARICOM is doing about all of this, they see it and they just close their eyes to it. Nobody cares. CARICOM don't care. It's just another player, play, they celebrate him, and then 10 years down the road, the man is begging. How can that be? That can't be anymore. Youngsters don't want that. It is crazy. CARICOM need to rise up. They need to rise up and understand that sports is a profession until.
I have 3 comments from earlier. Let me share it with you. One basically agree, one disagrees, and the other one is sort of a balanced approach. The first one, it says, I fully agree with CANOC that cricket is part of our history, but we have world-class athletes in track and field, boxing, swimming, and cycling who deserve the same recognition and investment. CARICOM, it goes on to say, CARICOM must create a balanced sports development strategy, not just focus on cricket.
Yeah.
Right? So this one seems to agree with CANOC. And then there is this one. It says that cricket is more than just a sport. It's a cultural legacy that unites the Caribbean like no other game. While I respect other sports, we shouldn't dilute our identity, right? It says cricket must remain at the heart of our sporting agenda. And then the final one was, it says, yes, cricket is our heritage, but it shouldn't overshadow the incredible achievements of athletes like Shelly Fraser Price or Kirani James, right? It says, CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others.
Yes.
Which one you want to side with there, Richard?
And that's what I'm saying, you know, between the cricket and the track and field, which is the two that is there. I really think because of India, cricket is still
right.
West Indies cricketers still have a high population and a high popularity among the Indian population. Still is. West Indies cricket is a cricket that they love the most. They love their cricket. West Indies come to India. India come to tour the West Indies. Is what they it's just a love. You just think of any West Indian cricketer. You know, here in Canada, I have so much Indian friends. Pakistan, Sri Lankan, India, you name them. If I can tell you that I know anything more about any West Indian player than they do, I will be lying. They know so. If I start to call West Indian name, them start to take me down memory road, and as young as they come, right?
Well, I can. So about a month or two ago, I was in Atlanta, and I visited an academy, a cricket academy.
Yeah.
It's run by Camillus Alexander, former youth player for West Indies. He's actually from Grenada, but he lives in Atlanta and he has this academy. And surprisingly, most of the participants at the academy are actually Indians.
Yes.
Kids, right?
Yes.
10, 11, 12-year-olds. And what you just said there, you can quiz them on West Indies players. Yes. And they can give you stats. When I tell you stats.
Yes, man.
They can give you stats on Brian Lara and Carl Hooper and, you know, and they study cricket. And not just Indian cricket, but they study cricket as a whole.
Michael, right? People speak about West Indian players with a passion and a glee in them eye. I can tell you that. When you talk it, I talked to some Sri Lankan guys, friends that I have recently. Those man just say, oh, Brian Lara, man. Good batsman, great. Oh, man. They talk like they are West Indians. Like it's their players. They said, this is the guy that make me love cricket. And these are Indians. They had Tendulkar and all of that, you know. But yet still, the Brian Laras of this world is one of those cricketers that they revered. If I tell them that I'm friend with Brian Lara, it's like I become their best friend right away.
Yeah. But so therefore, that is strengthening the point that CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others. That is what I'm asking you. Don't you agree with that assessment?
I absolutely support that. Absolutely support that, because we are a Caribbean nation, you know. I mean, I have a lot of idle thoughts in terms of sports and Caribbean, because I am saying I would love to see an American team up against a Caribbean team at all relay levels, right? So let's say the world relays decide that they wanted to have, and these are some of the things that I'm saying athletics might need to be doing, right? Having these kind of a competition and these kind of a creative idea. Let's say we have a 4x at the world relays, we have a 4x100 meter Caribbean team. So we're taking the fastest men and women around the Caribbean and putting them together on one team. If the Americas or the rest of the world team could match up, I doubt it very much. If we take the same thing for a 4x4, I doubt it very much. Right?
Or mix.
Yeah. I create that competition that people want to go out and do. The Caribbean have so much awesome talent. Right? So much. And we are so competitive right now in track and field. You know, yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying, can you imagine if Jamaica decided that they're not going to the Olympics or the World Championships? If people would come to the meet, And I have a sense that it will be very doubtful. Or if the US decided that they're not coming either, they're not sending a team. If these championships would be the same, they will.
It'd be diluted. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, Caribbean athletes are leaders in track and field. You know, at the moment, right now, at the moment, the 100 meter, both male and female, has the tendency to take the 100 meter title at the World Championship this year, right? As it is right now, right? Julian Hadfred is the favorite to go and take that gold medal. Shane is the favorite to go and take that medal, right? When you think about even other medals down the road, Caribbean likelies are lined up to go and take these other medals too, silver and bronze, right? Because as it is right now, the Caribbean folks, Caribbean athletes, they're the ones who have the world leading times as it is right now, right? So you understand the level that the Caribbean represents inside of the sport of track and field. It is huge, very, very big. You know, only the US alone seems to be our competitor at all times. The US.
Well, when you look at the performance of, let's say, the region, NACAC as a region, right, in world athletics or even the Olympics, particularly track and field, right, and then you break it down into the Caribbean, because NACAC is North American, Central American, the Caribbean. The Caribbean itself contributes the biggest haul of medals for the NACAC region most times. When you look at it,
not even most times,
right?
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
Right? Yeah, you look at that, the Caribbean region.
Yeah, because remember, Michael,
go ahead.
Cuba is very strong, right? Haiti is also there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Cuba. I'm glad you mentioned Cuba because sometimes we talk about the Caribbean, we kind of go English-speaking Caribbean, but Cuba is part of the Caribbean. Go ahead.
And they represent a big bulk of the thing too, right? And so you understand, that's what I'm saying, the level of representation, and in terms of medals coming from the Caribbean, it is very big, right? Very, very huge. And our participation in these championships all the time, if we were supposed to not come, then the championship would never have the same face that it has at all the times. Even if, I tell you right now, if a Caribbean line up at the line in any event at all, is almost like there is a fear already for the Caribbean representation, because they all think that we are go-getters and at any time we can just happen in an event when it comes down to track and field. So what do you want to think about? We are not just only on the track these days, because we have taken the javelin gold medal through what's the Trinidad guy name again?
Keyshawn Walcott. Keyshawn Walcott.
Javelin. So we are not just into the sprints and the track events. We are very much there. Recently, we have discus champion at the Olympics, right? We have shot put. We have jumpers, right? Vertical and horizontal jumpers that has been taking medals, right? Right across the region. I was really happy for the Dominican girl who got that medal. And I was so happy to see that. That was one of the joy for me last year, for her to cut that medal last year. I was really happy, because now I'm saying the world now is getting to see how diverse we are in the Caribbean region. We're not just sprinters, right, or on the track, but in the field. Our technical abilities and our coaching style and that kind of thing are now coming to fruition. I have a lot of reason to think that we were held back many years ago you know, in terms of our performances. Maybe we could have looked much better, you know, in years ago. But, you know, the first world countries were a little bit ahead. But now the Caribbean are totally there, and we have catch up to the thing, you know. So, but the region and the regional leaders, they need to get this, whether it be an academy for sports, whether it be, you know, a committee that they're going to be having to support sports, or something. But, you know, help to grow sports in general. It's not just about cricket, because we're just not a nation that just can play cricket only. We're dominant in other sports. You know, as a Jamaican at the bobsled, I say, you know, we're not just only at the bobsled. No, we are in ice hockey, right? We are in ski. We are in figure skating. We are in gymnastics. We we are all over the sports these days, and we're doing very well. You know, Jamaica was very featured in the floor gymnastic recently at the last two Olympics, right? Very dominant in terms of that. But and we are getting there even faster than we think. So highly sports coming out of the Caribbean. They need to get on board. But as I said, Michael, in their head is that sports is still an amateur situation, and they're treating it as such. They're not stopping, right? They need to rise up. It's not that they're only just to put money, you know, but it's the whole thing as politician organizing
Yes, and particularly for the
regional.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Let me get some comments there. Gordon says, as a member of the West Indies cricket team, should have the option to contribute to a retirement fund for food. And I think that goes to something where I think it's something where they said some cricketers, you know, being left, being complaining of not being taken care of or whatever it is. But he's saying that they should have been, you know, as members of the West Indies team, they should be able to contribute to a retirement fund, right? George Robertson is saying, what should the role of CANOC be? CARICOM government change term to term on a regular basis. The focus on sports, and sports have always been. I guess I think he's making the point that you know, CARICOM governments, they change, you know, from time to time, and on a regular basis. Well, you know, every 4 years they have elections, so they may be changing whatever. I think so too is CANOC. You know, CANOC has the same thing in terms of election cycle and things like that. So they change over a period of time. CANOC's role versus CARICOM's role. Well, CANOC is basically, Mr. Robertson, is basically the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees.
Yes.
CARICOM, yeah, and they deal with Olympic committees in the region, right? And sports in general. CARICOM role is not just sports, but however,
right,
they're making the point that CARICOM has a role to play as a stakeholder in terms of the development of sports. I think it's a fair point, right? Because when you and they have a role, and they have an important role, because when you look at facilities in the region, whether it's a cricket stadium, whether it's athletics football stadium, most of them are owned by the state, right? And when it comes to maintenance and development or refurbishing, whatever, it's a state responsibility. So they, by virtue of that, they have a role as a stakeholder when it comes to sports. But there have been this argument of recent that CARICOM should play, they should have a bigger stake in, and when I say stake, in terms of the development of sports in their respective islands. Using sports as a vehicle to fight things like poverty, unemployment, youth violence, you know, all these sort of things. And I think that's the point they have been making over the years.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Sports is a way out for many. As I say, a lot of megastar. You think about Michael Jordan, Usain Bolt, Tiger Woods. You think of them. They come from humble beginnings. Serena and Venus Williams. You think about them. They all come from humble beginnings. Sports make them what they are. And again, they make sports what it is today, because we were having the discussion as well, and we were talking about your top 5 sports of all time. And when we were examining each and every one of everybody's top 5 sports, when you look at Muhammad Ali, he would have transformed from humble beginnings. From humble beginnings, he would have transformed the sport of boxing to what it is today. When you look at Michael Jordan, he would have transformed basketball for blacks, right? For black people to what it is today, right? When you look at Tiger Woods in golf, he would have elevated the sport of golf for black folks, right? From humble beginnings to where it is today. When you look at Usain rose the level of where track and field was an amateur thing, recognized by the Olympic body, recognized by World Athletics. They always have track and field for a long time as an amateur thing. So what you realize is that out of humble beginnings came these stars that would have transformed the sport and elevated to where people are making mega millions of US dollars. You know, they're making money from the thing. So the sport, the whole sport that becomes an industry through these people that came from humble thing. Why should they now finish the sport and go back to an humble situation in life? Our politicians and our, CARICOM leaders should never make that happen to a sporting personality, especially the ones who have helped to drive your country. Because when you look at St. Lucia right now, right, their name, the name St. Lucia as a country had now entered it's not that they weren't there, but they have entered the world stage at all levels, and is now a really known entity that I'm sure that people hear Julian Alfred, St. Lucia, they want to go know where this place is, who have never been there before. No, they want to go and see the place. They want to go and, so that's what it do, right? Government is benefiting from it,
Yeah.
They don't want to
the country is benefiting, yeah.
Yes, but they don't want to put anything into it. Is what is happening to cricket right now. Why cricket is the way it is? We don't have great academies right across the region at all. We don't. CARICOM create an academy in Barbados, I think it is, where they try to call a few other people. But if Trinidad have a great academy, and if St. Lucia have a great academy, if St. Kitts and Nevis have a great academy, and we all have great academy right across, that is funded by CARICOM, right? Then we would produce talent. Talent across the region is not lacking. It is not lacking. What we are lacking is the leadership. And that's what CARICOM is supposed to represent. That's why they come together and have CARICOM. But they all think that they must just come there and talk politics and that's it. But CARICOM leaders are supposed to recognize their reason for their leadership and their reason for them being elected to the office that they are is to rise the people, is to help the people, is to get the people to where they want to go. That's what leaders are elected for, People, these politicians these days, I'm not sorry I even talking politics, but it's what CARICOM is. These politicians these days just feel like being a politician is a career for you. Being a politician where I come from is not a career for you. It's a leadership role that you are given, that you have put yourself into to say, hey, listen, I'm going to raise my constituency to another level from where I come and see it, right? A part of your constituency, things to do must be to raise the level of how do I get my people out of poverty? What is it that I can do? In my constituency, I have a lot of young men and women who have a lot of talent. I see them running at them junior track and field meet or them batting at them little cricket. competition in them school and that kind of a thing. How can I get him to be a Brian Lara? How can I get him to be a Chris Gale? Right? How can I get them to be better at what they are? That's what a politician's supposed to do. So when they go sit down, it's not to talk about, how to get elected next time. Their job is to talk about how can I raise up Michael better than how he is. How can I make him sports media coverage becomes world class? How can what I need to do? What Michael need? Do Michael need a bigger station, a better microphone? What is it that he needs? That's what their job is, and they put themselves up for this thing. So when they come together as a CARICOM body, they must just sit down and talking, man. They're supposed to be putting in policies that when Michael say, I need a microphone, he recognized that Michael is not the only person that is in sports media there, but 10 other Michael's going to need a microphone. So, hey, I'm going to put some policies in place, see how we can raise the money on the international market or wherever the investment to come from to put into this so that we can grow this, so that we can get more Julian Alfreds out of St. Lucia. Mm-hmm. Because that is what's needed.
Mm-hmm. Just stand by. Let me say good afternoon to Mr. Patrick Simmons, former sports minister in Grenada. Mr. Simmons is joining me also in Toronto, I would say. Right. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Simmons.
Brampton,
right, Brampton to be exact. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Hi, afternoon, Mike.
Right.
Good afternoon.
Right. I know you have been listening and following for the better part, even though you were trying to get on a while. But the conversation and the debate has to do with the level of attention CARICOM gives to cricket at the detriment of other sports. That's basically what it is, right? And there is a belief that CARICOM gives more attention to cricket than to other sporting disciplines, track and field, swimming, football, tennis, whatever. We looked at the, for example, facilities. Just about each of the Caribbean islands probably have a cricket stadium or a world-class cricket venue, Compare that to probably track and field or football. You look at St. Lucia, for example, their stadium is being used as a hospital, right? A track and field, I should say. But cricket is still there. Cricket is untouched, right? Dominica has a world-class cricket venue, and they are not producing world-class athletes, but they do not have a stadium. Barbados have been trying to get their stadium back up for probably the past 10, 15 years, even though they have the Usain Bolt complex, which is part of UWI, right? Kville. So we see, and then we have Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket. We have symposium on cricket at the CARICOM level, all of that. So do you think that CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, probably using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others? Mr. Simmons?
I don't share the view that the investment should be equally.
And why?
I don't share that view at all. Mm-hmm. Say that again?
And why? Why you don't share that view?
Okay. Now, there are certain sports or sporting disciplines that may be most significant to the region, especially where it is right now, and looking down the line. Mm-hmm. Then you also need to take a look at the popularity of the sports and the impact it is having on the individual islands in the territory. All right. Now, the notion that the CARICOM is investing much more, or the belief that CARICOM is investing much more into cricket than any of the other disciplines is not a belief, it's a fact. It's not a notion, it's a fact. Mm-hmm. Because that is what we are actually seeing, and that is what we have been experiencing, especially in our generation. Mm-hmm. Added to that, there must be a reason for it. There must be a reason for it. And in my view, I think the reason why that is happening is because of the cultural, historical context of it. Okay, so based on that, it seems to me that we are stuck with that historical context and continue to treat it as it should be treated to a certain extent. However, if we look at the other shifts that we have been experiencing, or the cultural shifts that we have been experiencing in the Caribbean, it should be an eye-opener to our leaders, to make them understand that historically that is the way it is, or it was, but now we are having new shifts that we need to accommodate and facilitate. So these new shifts, we will see it, or we have seen it demonstrated, in particular with track and field. So the shift should determine, or should be an indicator to our leaders where they should be or what area they should be focusing on as it relates to sports in general, athletics or athletes. So that should determine, and the data is there to prove it and to encourage that shift. All right. Now, when you look down the line with the same shifts, with the new cultures that are emerging, that in itself would be a historical, for example, track and field would be part of the historical shift for the next generation. So therefore, if our task is to prepare for the now and pave a way for the next generation, therefore, that premise alone, in my view, is strong enough for CARICOM to make a shift to accommodate that coming historical fact, which is track and field, netball, football, and probably one or two other sports that are not being paid much attention to would be part of our cultural shift going forward. So just like how the Eastern Caribbean had put so much emphasis into the establishment of the ECCB, and the impact it is now having on the whole world, because we are demonstrating we did something that even Europe were unable to do with the establishment of the euro, and the amount of time we took to establish the Eastern Caribbean currency, and the impact it is having in terms of its stability and keeping the economy of the ECCB islands or countries very stable. So a similar model need to be adopted for sports development at the regional level.
I want to ask this though, Patrick, before Michael jump back in, because you say in your earlier part of your opening, you say you don't think it should be equal.
Yes.
At all.
I could define that.
But at the same breath, you're saying we need to make a shift.
Of course.
New generation and what they're doing. Yeah. Explain that a little bit more.
All right. Now, the how equal it is would be dependent on what the data is showing.
Okay.
All right. Now, if the data is showing that track and field is providing more economic benefits for the individuals within the countries, and at the same time, economic benefits for the entire country and the entire region, then we should be heading in that direction.
Okay.
If it is showing that probably cricket continue to hold that significant impact, then that should be given consideration, because the politicians, remember, the politicians are there to create policies that will work in the benefit of the people, whether they supported you or not, but it should be in the interest of the people. So if each nation would have rise to that occasion, then the impact would be for the entire Caribbean. So it is important that we use the available data before us to drive these policies.
And I want to ask you, Patrick, as a man that used to be in politics, why is it though that politician, and Michael and I was talking and I was expressing it, why is it that politicians can't see the vision or see the opportunities on the horizon, right? So you have your constituency, you have, you know, a lot of talent. You see it's visibly in your constituency that a lot of the young people, they are busy in track and field or cricket. They look very creative. Why is it that leaders cannot now see that and say, hey, listen, there is a career to be had here. How can I help you? How can I help get my people to be better into this career level? Why can leaders not think like that? Because I'm getting the sense that leaders are just waiting for something to happen. So in Jamaica, Usain Bolt happened, and our leaders were never a part of it happening. Right? They became a part of the happening, but they wasn't a part of. So what I'm saying is that his development to get where he is, they were never in support of that at all. As much as you want to think about it, Usain Bolt had to be working with his club and his little management team around him to get where he is. But government never be a part of his journey in developing to a world beater. Now, as politicians, I'm just asking, why is it that we cannot see the Usain Bolt when he was 14 and 13 and say, hey, listen, I want to put something behind that to get this career to be what it is today? Why can't leaders think like this?
All right. Now that what I'm going to expound here, what I'm going to posit, is just my own personal view and based on my own personal experiences as being part of the process.
Sure.
Okay. Now, first of all, you must appreciate that in order for you to be good at what you're doing, you must be committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you must have a great level of commitment in order to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Wheresoever you are placed. That is one. Secondly, you have, based on this construct that we have for governments,
Mm-hmm.
you have someone that is placed as the minister with responsibility, let's say, for sports. So most time we see sports and youth going together, or sports, youth, and culture going together. Yeah, you know, they have good synergies between these three areas because the majority of the people involved in it are youthful people,
young people. Yeah.
Okay, so you have that minister, that portfolio set up, and you have a minister. Somebody's charged, referred to as a minister, to deal with it, and then you also have agriculture, and you know the whole works.
Right.
All right. Now, the prime minister, who is the leader of all ministers, come first in line. So he's prime of everybody. If the mandate from the leader does not come stating that we need to have policies in place to address these issues as it relates to agriculture, sports, as the case may be. If these policies are not put into place, then a lot of things will happen on our way to the prime minister, and at the same time, a lot of cracks will develop and things will fall through the hole. So a lot of athletes and all those are involved in the process would not see the benefit. So the question we need to ask ourselves, if the person that represents that particular sector is somebody that is committed to the cause, how committed that person is to the cause? And does that person have a vision to take this thing from where it is to where they would like to see it go? Are these people encircled with people that are aware and have vision and know exactly what needs to happen? Or these people encircled with people who are politicians looking for something, or party supporters looking for something, and don't really have the bigger picture in mind, and that is the vision for sports development? And I will tell you, immediately when John, who used to be a businessman, a merchant, a retail merchant, selling and buying, becomes the minister for sports automatically he becomes an authority on sports. No, these are facts. You know?
These are facts, yes, I know.
I'm just saying that because I experience it automatically.
Yeah.
He or she becomes an authority on sports. The same thing happened with agriculture. And these are two industries or two sectors that I've been paying particular attention to and realizing that is always happening. So, based on the attitude of these ministers now, they could either one or two things. Continue to pretend that they are authority on it, or they can humble themselves and listen to those who have the experience and who have that particular sector at heart and they want to see it go forward. So you have conflicting of interests, and when you have conflict of interest, things will always be missed. But at the same time, we also must understand too, outside of the politicians, we have very weak associations and club structures in the region.
True.
And that is something that need to be addressed.
True.
Because if you have good club structures within your community, it could eventually lead to the selection or the election of good people, committed people, to be part of your national federation and association. Added to that, if you have some people at the top of your federations and association, it would eventually lead to some people being at the top for your Olympic committee, which is the feeders back to the grassroots. So if you could get the grassroots going, being vibrant and being well organized with good support, we can look to the future to have good associations and at the same time have good Olympic committees that will work in the benefit or the interest of the development of sports. And in fact, that in itself will then filter to the governments.
So Patrick, politicians are failing us as a people.
Not only politicians. No. Because you have to you have to understand. Hold on. Let me make the point. Allow me to make the point. Allow me to make the point.
Okay.
Because these politicians, you must understand, there are people like yourself and like myself and like Mike that have been in the community, probably teaching, probably farming, or doing something to keep themselves engaged and to take care of their families.
Yes.
Then we turn around and we say to them, boy, you are a good man. You are a good woman. You should get involved in the process because all these people, they're doing blah, 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 blah. All right. So they took your advice to a certain extent and they got into the process. But from the time they got into the process, things start turning around, meaning that the amount of time they had for you, you can't really get that time from them anymore because they're now confusing their election as a member of parliament and the prime minister giving them the opportunity to be a minister, which is where the flare is. So they tend to concentrate on being a minister and forgetting that their responsibility is the responsibility of the community because they are elected to represent that particular constituency. So the problem now falls back on you and us as members of the community to keep them engaged and to help direct the path. And hence, when they refuse to take the advice, we have an opportunity sometime, either one or two things. We either go to the leader, the first minister, and explain our challenges to them, or to him or her. This is what we encounter. You will need for you to pull up John. Or we wait until the 4 years or 5 years finish, and we do the thing, we vote them out.
But to bring it to a Caribbean thing, Michael, to CARICOM, and in terms of what CARICOM is doing, it's the same thing, right? Is that our leaders, they don't believe that their job is representing what the people want. They think that their job is to be a politician, right? They need to be thinking, okay, so track and field is on their rise now. but them themselves. You see, we are discussing this on this program because we as a people, we are seeing what's happening on the ground with our people, with our friends, our family, that the sport of track and field is blooming. But our politicians seem to not recognize it at all. They hear the sounds on the ground too, you know, but they tend to not recognize it. Is that it is not an importance for them, right? It is not important to them to recognize the level or the activities on the ground, right? What they recognize is when election time is a buzz, then everybody come and give you a buzzword. But the people are saying, hey, an industry is developing here. We need your help to get it. And I support you, Michael, is that they sort of lose the vision in terms of representing what people want and what they were elected for. Hence the reason why CARICOM was really developed, you know, to foster the development of the region together as a body, right? To support each other. Every country have, you know, different economical structure and different things, and that some is big, some is medium, some is small, but we need to come together to help each other to get better, right? Now, it's the same thing for the sport. The sport of track and field is growing. The sport of cricket is still growing, you know, but CARICOM don't feel the necessity to put the investment in to even get the cricket to where it's supposed to be, right? They don't feel the need to do that. They set up the shop, right? They have the symposium, but they're not moving forward to where the development or they're not developing the policy. Because I hear PJ Patterson, who is a part of that, you know, symposium and that kind of a thing. A lot of things was presented, but how many of the things that they have acted upon thus far in terms of moving them forward and getting the youngsters to get the support that they need, or to get the policies in the different countries to ensure that, you know, the thing has been developed and followed through? They don't. They're just there and everybody's just doing this talking thing, but the world is growing and the sport is growing. Like athletics right now. Athletics has been moved from an amateur situation to a real professional situation at the moment, right? Every athlete is demanding a certain amount of money now. No athlete in the sport of track and field want to be out there training every day for this Olympics. And when the show is over, he's coming home to a ride around the country, and then he gets dropped off at his house, and that's the end of the story. No athletes in this world want to be doing that now, right? Everybody, when they get dropped off at the gate, a check is right there in their hand, or the bank account is looking okay, or there's an opportunity for him to be able to go take care of family and say to him, Mom, this is all why I was working hard for the last 4 years for the Olympics. This is what is happening out of it. No athletes don't want to be able, athletes want to be able to do this. No, our politicians are still treating them like nationalism is the thing that people must always recognize, and you must always be proud of supporting a country, and that's not it. At the end of the day, money is what is going to count. So like in Jamaica now, athletes find the and they have no qualms. The athletes that have switched, they had no qualms at all. They said it out. They said it wasn't a struggle to switch. They said they are already Jamaican. There can't be any Jamaican more or less. Yeah. Right? But at the end of the day, when his career is over, he must say to himself that I had tried my best. I put my all into it. My job is done. I have something that I can fall back on. Right? But it cannot be that politician is saying to sportsmen and women that just be nationalism and then you go home. I am sorry. The cricketers that are a lot of legendary cricketers I know right across the region are suffering today. Suffering today. They don't, some of them, you have some that not even sure how they're going to get dinner even today. And that is sad. that you represented a region and the region couldn't even take care of you in your twilight years. It's not that they were worthless. They went and they worked on the tile. Everybody paid top dollar to come into the Sabina or wherever they went and play and people watch them. Everybody paid top dollar. But
so
no,
how do we ensure that the example that you and we, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago on this program, we had a journalist from Australia, who actually spoke about a feature he did and came upon one of those former West Indies players in Jamaica who was actually homeless, I believe. Was homeless, yeah. And, you know, we did a feature on it and things like that. So how we ensure that what we are talking about there do not repeat itself, not just for cricket, but other sports. And that's why the call has been made that CARICOM should also give attention back to the substantive issue to other sporting disciplines to ensure that probably our track and field athletes as they are now do not fall into the same bracket as those former cricketers who are now destitute. How do we ensure that?
Mike,
pension fund.
This you see, I think it will be incorrect to be looking at this entire scenario just from the perspective of CARICOM. Because, okay, let us just look at a family, right? That have the 2 parents and they have 4 or 5 offspring. Okay. The responsibility of the parents is to make sure they facilitate the growth and development of the children the best way they can. Okay. So in other words, based on how we are structured, you send them to you send them to primary school, and you support them. You send them to secondary school. You do the same thing, and that is based on how the things are structured. No, then if possible, 1 or 2 of them will go on to university if the parents are in a position to do so, to assist them. Then the responsibility now would be on these children to start building their own based on the opportunities that were made available to them. All right. So, and from where I sit, the responsibility of these children would not be to take care of their parents. If they choose to take care of their parents in the later days, that is a commitment they choose to make, fine. What is the responsibility and duty of the parents to take care of them, because they are the offspring. They didn't really ask to be here. I want to believe is the same approach we need to take with governments, with CARICOM, and with the individual nations. And that should
Mr. Simmons, at the same time, Mr. Simmons, I agree with you. But at the same time, you see the same kids do come back and take care of their parents. And it's the same thing as us as athletes. The same thing as us as athletes. We come back and be in charge of those sporting development and run it in a manner the way we was taught. So that's really how I seen it at the same time. So if what our parents did for us to move on, to make it through, to get us to college and taking us to that level, now we're coming back now and give it. If those people who are in charge now do that for athletes want to come back and give back the time when those people are retired and continuing what's been going on. And that's not what's happening today, because the respect is not there from those ministers and from those in charge for those athletes. So those athletes now, they don't want to come back and do nothing in sports. They don't want to come back and give their time. They don't want to come back and do anything anymore. Some of them, as we see happening in Jamaica, we have 4 of them decide, well, I'm leaving. It has nothing to do with love for country, because they say they cannot be more Jamaican than they are already. But now everything now based on what life is today is on a financial base. And this is what the kids see. Where we seen it, we never had that kind of funding. We never had those type of money. I was saying to Richard some time back, if Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal had those type of money there is today, they're not retiring. If those type of money that is there today, them guys are not retiring. They're gonna if they could get 10 points from them, they will take it.
Yeah.
But it's but a different time we're living in now, and everything is about the money now. That we love the sport. It's about the sport for us. But to those the young generation coming out, it's about the money.
Yeah.
Listen to the point I'm making. Listen to the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
Just listen to the point. An athlete that leaves Grenada, leaves Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago to go overseas to university and did well both at studies and at the events that he or she participated in is a plus for them. If they choose to return to their country to make a contribution, that is on them. We are educating our young people. That's my view. We are educating our young people to be citizens of the world and not of Grenada or Trinidad and Tobago or Jamaica. So wherever the opportunity lies, they must be free to take up that opportunity there for their own personal development and for the financial success for their children to come, and by remittances, the country that they belong to originally would benefit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yes, and I agree with that. And I agree with that. However, like I said, based on how we treat someone, if we treat them in a manner, they will come back.
No,
And they will want to contribute in that manner. But if they're not treated well, they don't want to come back.
The objective,
but not everyone will want to come back. So
that
They
is the
want to
point.
come back. Yeah.
yeah,
The objective is not to treat them in a way so that they will come back. The objective is to treat them in a humane way where they could develop their capacity and
can
take
make
care of whatsoever.
make a
I understand. Yeah.
Yes, that is the objective.
Got it. Yes.
No.
When the Jamaican athletes decided that they want to move, in my own personal opinion and view, I have no issues with them whatsoever.
Mhm.
As they said, they would always remain Jamaican.
Yeah.
And they going outside it, the name of Jamaica would always be called. But at the same time, we as local government, meaning like the Grenada government or the St. Vincent, Trinidad, whatsoever government, we have an obligation to do whatsoever we can to facilitate those who have made that contribution to the country, did not get the opportunity to go overseas, so that they could be taken care of while they're at home. So just like I taught for how many years, and at the end of it, I got a gratuity and pension, there must be a system in place, which is actually being worked upon as we speak. There must be a system in place to take care of these athletes at the time of the completion of service as an athlete to the nation. And I'm saying that is coming from the sports, not from the government. I'm not saying the government is doing that, but we are in the process of looking at that. So we're going to present it to the Minister for Sports, and she will take it to the cabinet so that can see it and probably give credence to it. But we need to have a pension program for these people.
I agree.
In Jamaica, they do have a small thing in terms of a pension for sports people. And that's what I'm saying, Patrick, is that actually the government, because government remain the people, right? Politicians are the leaders. They don't see sports as an industry for career development. Because if they see sports, and I support what Rudy is saying, is that Rudy is saying, if I am an accountant and I go into work into the government system, initially from I enter that government system, there's a couple of things that has been presented to me that is going to be my benefits. Now, as a sportsman and a woman in a country right across the region, if it is that when you leave high school or college or wherever, you enter the professional system of the sport to which you are in, you're supposed to enter that sport with a certain credential so that you can gain certain benefits. You know that you have these benefits. So one of the things that was being talked about is that, let's say, Chris Gales of the world or the Usain Bolts of the world, while they are out there working, doing their sports, and they're making money, right? Just like if you're an accountant and enter the work world, your contribution to a benefit fund is something that is almost something that you must do, right? So once you get paid, just like taxes, say boy, 1% of your earning go towards that put on aside in a sport fund or a sports benefit fund or whatever. But that no, and that's what I'm saying. Leaders are not taking leadership in terms of the lead because they are not creating these things in terms of saying, because the sports people, they have a big debate on it, you know, they have lots of conversation right across the region, you know, in terms of this conversation in providing a fund that when athletes leave the sport, they have something that they don't need to go to a politician or a government to get anything at all. That is there because they contributed to it while they were earning, and it is there for them as a benefit for them when they finish working, just like every other job. But leaders tend to be, they're crawling on this thing. They don't want to put it in place. They're finding all kind of reason not to do it, other than make the policy.
Now, do we know if the European system is different from how it is in the Caribbean? Anyone know if the European system is different?
The European system, they have a system like that, you know, because the government look at sports in Europe as a professional thing.
Mm-hmm.
As a profession, once you leave school, once you start representing the country, it's almost like that. This is your career. You don't need to leave training and go to work. I don't need to leave work and go to training. That there is done. Once you make the mark of competing for that country, right? It's done. And that's why the Jamaican athletes, they can go over to Turkey. Because Turkey is funding them entire thing. Turkey is not just paying them to come to Turkey. They're paying them $500,000 just to switch, just to say, I want to represent Turkey. $500,000. With the $500,000 comes their benefits. Once they sign on that line, it comes with a list of benefit things that they get. They take care of the medical. Turkey has money more than the region. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that these countries are treating the athletes or the sports people as professional. So they have all these things in line. Once you represent in the country, you have these things just like a normal regular person working out there. If you go to work with a company, you're looking to have benefits. All of these things. Sports careers are even short. They're short. 5 years for sporting careers. So it's even more important that you have these things.
In relationship to the statement that you just made there, and probably that is where some education need to be made throughout the region. Because that statement that you just made there, that the sports career of the athletes are very short, which I support. Not only short, but is a very small percentage of them actually move on. Yeah. So we have to start educating our athletes that there are so many other different opportunities as career people, as athletes or former athletes, or sports people as former sports people. For example, you may have a good basketball player who been doing very well on the local scene. He got an opportunity to go and study. He studied nutrition. He studied something that is not so aligned as how we have it in terms of the basketball. Mm-hmm. But here it is. He or she can make a meaningful contribution towards sports nutrition as an athlete, as somebody that studied and not being an active participant as an athlete. Yeah. So we have to start educating our young people on the number of opportunities that are available to them, and not only trying to stick to being an athlete, which is short and which, is gruesome. It's tough, but there are so many other opportunities that they can rely on to take them through the golden ages. So the bottom line is that this thing is not only for our leaders, but at the end of the day, it rests with them because they're leading. They should be leading. But each strata in the system needs to take care of those that they are entrusted to take care of. So the associations, they need to take care of these people. They should have strong database. They should have good archiving to know exactly what happened, when this one transitioned, where he or she transitioned to, and be able to build profiles on the athletes. So at the end of the day, they will be able to defend and be able to substantiate why this should happen for this or for her or for him. So we cannot just put all the blame on the leaders, but we need to look at the structures that we are operating in and try to fix them, try to get them right. So we'll have a kind of holistic development, not only for the athletes, but for all those that are involved in the process, who goes on to be doctors, who goes on to be lawyers, who goes on to be nutritionists, and the case as the case may be.
Yeah, and I tell you this, Patrick, is that a lot of sportsmen and women have other careers, right? But the system doesn't absorb them into it. As a matter of fact, they don't want to use them. The policy, the thing about sports across the region, it's highly political a lot of times, right? A lot of times. Because if you go around the region right now and talk to past players of different sports, they will tell you that they were never asked to contribute. Right?
I don't have to go in the region to know that, you know. I could ask myself the question too.
Yeah. They don't. I mean,
I could ask Rudy the question also.
Oh my gosh. It is just some and that's why I'm saying leaders need to come together and they need to make policies, because as Rudy says, is that the system doesn't support the people, and the people don't feel a need to come back and support the system. I can tell you from a fact that most sports people around the region, they want to come back and serve in whatever capacity that they can. But the thing about it is that there is no leadership that is going to say, hey, listen, we welcome you back into our system and you can come here. Because there's a lot, if right now, if you ask 10 sports people around the region, past sports people, you know, if you'd be willing to come and do something, there's always going to be a resounding yes. But
I agree.
The leadership is what the problem, just like you said, Patrick, is that the presidents of different sporting bodies, they don't care about the sports people. It's all about them and their administration. It's not about the sports development at all. It has never, ever been about the sports development. Right? I mean, when I look back, and I can say this, is that when I look back at Trinidad football and the scandal that came out with it, right, with FIFA and the president of Trinidad's football at the time, all of that scandal, all that money that was there, that Trinidad could have gotten, right, through FIFA, through their president, to help with the development of their football, that never came into their system at all. It went elsewhere.
Was a politician? That's the point.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying. The leaders.
Exactly, the leadership.
Money stop there too.
It's not only the politicians. It's the whole structure. The whole structure.
The presidents, Patrick, they're part.
I understand.
They're part of the politics, and that's what I'm saying. They too, because they're absorbed into the whole political system. Right? You become a president now, you becomes a politician to the minister of sports. Right? So that's what it is. So it's never ever about the development of sports. So when you hear the money that came out of FIFA that Trinidad could have gotten, Trinidad football could have been way ahead from that money. Way ahead. But no, the leaders don't think that is about the sport. It don't think it's about the people in the sport. They think it's about them. It cannot be that. And that's why the people, when they finish, they don't want to come back. Because there's too much politics that is tied up into it that is preventing them from contributing anything. You know?
We need to fix the system. The entire system needs to be fixed from all strata. Not only at the head, but we have our greatest power is to fix those right at the head, you know. And I tell you, based on my experience, our greatest influence and our greatest strength is to fix those right at the head. And if we organize,
Mr. Simmons, you take the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say they need to say the heads need to be changed. We need different heads.
if we organize at the bottom, at the grassroots,
Yeah.
the same thing could happen. We
Yeah.
need to organize. We need to organize. We need to have this system organized, and the participants in the organization, in the organizing, and those on the ground would be the greatest beneficiaries, and would be they would have the loudest say.
Yeah.
They will influence what happens right at the top.
Because with Michael, topic for today, I mean, people shouldn't have to be asking leadership to have a sports committee in CARICOM. It should be something that leaders see.
No. You can't take it for granted. We have to make the request. We must make the request. Don't take these things for granted. These things are not granted. We need to make the request. This is what we need. And don't expect that our leaders will just automatically see that they need to do that. We have to make the request. It must come from the bowels of the people. It must come from the bowels of the people to make it happen. You can't just sit back and say, well, the leaders, no, we cannot do that. It's the same thing like sitting back when your parents send you to school and say, well, mommy, you should be sending me to school and that. No, why I'm not going to school today, mommy? Why I'm not going to school today, daddy? I need XYZ to happen for me to go to school today. It's the same thing, The structure within the home should be the same structure that we have in government, within the countries, and at the CARICOM level. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. George Robertson is saying one of our basic problem of sports education is the effort of our sports leaders and administrators to invest in research, documentation, and archiving. Well, yeah, it's a lack of, probably a lack of effort, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's something we have been saying, Simmons.
But when you have, Mike, when you have a situation where Ray Roberts had to sit in the car to have a meeting, and he had to take all the books from the meeting minutes and so forth and put it in the dicky, and are traveling around with that. How you expect for things to go well? We have to have a paradigm shift from these things. And I'm saying that, I'm seeing it. I know you're seeing it. Rudy and Justice are seeing it. But we need to have a shift. We may not see it, but the structures must start being worked upon to accommodate a shift of that nature. So we should have a place where all these associations, a home where all these associations should be able to meet, have a cubicle within the home where they could meet and have secretarial services provided for them to make the thing strong.
If I can ask you, Mr. Simmons, of any one of you, what should CARICOM prioritize for the next generation of our sportsmen and sportswomen, right? Well, we say athletes. Should it be infrastructure? Should it be multi-sport development programs? Should it be more funding for grassroots sports? Or should it be international partnerships and exposure? Which one would you prioritize as, regional leaders? Infrastructure, multi-sport development programs, more funding for grassroots sports, or international partnership and exposure?
I would recommend an eclectic approach, meaning that we should not just be focusing on one area, but we should be focusing on probably two areas that would ultimately get us or put us on the track to get where we really want to go. So I would focus on education for grassroots development. So we have education there and building capacity so that we could improve the club structure at the grassroots level. So doing that, in my view, would really assist in developing better structures for the next level. And the next level will take it to the top. So we should have an athletic approach. Looking for international will always come to you as long as your athletes perform well.
Mm-hmm.
As long as if West Indies was performing, if West Indies was performing the way that we anticipated that they should, all our players would be probably in the IPL,
The,
would
the,
be in Australia playing in the T20s.
Bash.
Yes, Big Bash, yeah.
the sponsor of West Indies cricket would have been greater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we cannot focus on outside there.
Yeah.
We need to focus home, develop what we have at the grassroots level. Because all our athletes, that's where they came from. And Raw Lewis came from the Union, Baka Union.
Yeah.
The same thing with Alan France. Alan in Moya, Baka Moya up there. Yeah. It's the same thing. Kiranik was in Guav. Came from Guav. Yeah. So we need to focus on these grassroots levels and develop it well. So
I tell you this, Michael. My take on that is, and I support Patrick's point too. You can't just focus on one area. But if from a CARICOM level they develop policies, the policy that they develop is going to affect all of the different tentacles that you mentioned, the grassroots, this. Because one of the things is, I think at a grassroots level, you see, in our primary school and our secondary high school, I think programs exist already to develop grassroots today. You know what they don't have? They don't have support of policies from country to help them to do what they do. So if CARICOM come together, because you see, developing policies is going to speak to a number of different things in it. It's going to speak to funding, it's going to speak to operation, it's going to speak to how do we affect the global market. It's going to affect the leadership of the different associations as well. Once they develop these policies, and then it is going to affect our return on the investment that government is making into these policies. Because if government put money into these sports policies, they're going to get return, just like Patrick says. The West Indies cricket is performing. They're going to get more money. You don't have to go there and look for it. You don't have to go find it. Global is going to come to you anyway because you are performing. You say, well, do have to go and approach a sponsor. Sponsors come knocking at his door. So much so that even when he has a sponsor, the Nike and the Adidas people are knocking on him door crazily to take away from Puma what Puma has for years with him. You understand? So you don't have to go look for money. Once you're doing good work, money will come. If you're working in an organization, your boss will want to give you a pay because he don't want to lose you. So once they set those policies from a CARICOM level, and we as a region is performing, which I'm absolutely sure, because it has been proven already without their support, that the sport, that whatever CARICOM, youths get themselves involving, they are growing exponentially every single year. It is getting better. So
True.
all that is needed is for them, CARICOM, to come, leaders to come together, put policies in place that is going to support what they are doing. So once they get those policies, you will get everything, man. You don't have to even dream.
And that is their job.
Yeah, that's their job.
Yeah, to put the policies in place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, glad to know, gentlemen, that you're agreeing that at least CARICOM has a role to play, right? And that is what the tenet of our discussion, in that while at the same time we are looking at whether or not CARICOM should continue focusing only on cricket, probably allow other sports to have a say as well. I think at the same time we consider, and we have agreed, that CARICOM has a role to play as a stakeholder in the development of sports in the region, right? Because as we discussed initially, they own, for one, the facilities. Let's just look at that. Facilities. Whether it's cricket, whether it's athletics and football, the state owns these facilities. So no matter what you say or what you do, the governments will have a say, will have a stake, and they consider a stakeholder in any process. If you have CPL, for example, the government, wherever CPL is being held, the government has a stake in it. Carifta Games, the governments will have a say in it. Because whether it's the facility, whether it's security, all these sort of things like that. So the government will have a say in it. So therefore, they have an important role to play in the development of sports. Even though some people might want governments to have a hands-off approach, but that is not possible when it comes to the development of sports. And sometimes I think some people consider government's role just as giving money, providing finance.
Oh.
And I see it more than just providing finance.
Much
I
more.
would agree with you. Policy, for example, without I would say without a policy, without any policy direction, whatever it is, sports is haywire.
Definitely.
You need national policy
Definitely.
for the development of sports to know in which direction you want to go. And in most cases, the government is responsible for the policy decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, the governments are responsible.
The policy must be a live document.
Yeah. Yes.
Cultural shift.
Yes.
So whether it's sports, whether it's culture, whether it's agriculture, there must be. It's a policy.
Yeah.
Policy.
A policy. Yeah. And I think in some, well, probably except for Grenada, I should say, some islands, they don't have a sports policy.
Yeah.
Right? They just do whatever they want and think. But I can tell you, Richard, that Mr. Simmons is the one responsible for pushing Grenada's national sports policy.
National sports policy.
Yeah, and he's sitting there with us now.
Yes.
And policy is a live document, as he says. Right? Kudos to you, Mr. Simmons, because we go way back when, in terms of, there was a point in time when Mr. Simmons and I used to be the only two persons speaking about the sports policy. Yeah.
I remember
We used to use everything and say it goes back to the sports policy.
Sports policy.
Sports policy.
That's
This reflects the sports policy. We were the two guys in the wilderness talking about the sports policy, the need for the sports policy, and it comes to pass that we do have a national sports policy.
I want to applaud you, and don't take your foot off that neck at all. Keep it on it. And
well, yeah,
But I have 5 children. I'm up in secondary school.
And the good thing about it, Richard, a lot of other islands do happen to turn to Grenada to help their sports policy in the past. So we started it, and other islands kind of look at what we did.
Some of them have been talking about it.
Yeah.
We're hearing a lot of a national sports policy. They talk about it in Parliament. They talk about it on the platform. All these sort of things. We have passed that stage now where we do have a national sports policy enacted and in motion with a national sports council and parish sports councils. Right?
Yep.
As small as it is in terms of Grenada, we're making
big things.
Yeah. That. Yeah, folks. So, any final words from you guys?
No, certainly. I was listening all through Richard, listening toward the day. I was in the longest wedding in history, but I was in it. But I was listening, and also sorry again for not coming on as I should, but I was really supporting the talk so you guys was having. It was really, really edifying today. Certainly, Mr. Simmons, I'm in your neighborhood right now in a wedding, so but definitely, Mr. Simmons, we definitely have to get to meet up, and I will bring Richard along with me. We have lunch one day and we'll talk sports, because in the end, that's what it's about, right? That's what we love, that's what we want to do is talk sports. And you have the knowledge with the experience that you have and the position that you have held in the past, to talk sports. So, definitely we'll meet up and do that.
Yeah. I want to get from all of us right now, because since as we're talking about CARICOM, who is your top sports of all time? Your number one sports icon of all time for each of you? I mean, regional icons now.
Regional
icons in the Caribbean.
For me, it's Courtney Ambrose.
Courtney Ambrose for you.
Yeah.
I will go. I mean, I know Simmons' era will be different to my era,
That's
and I will go with Bolt, and let me tell you why. Usain Bolt has done something that I don't think of in the current, scheme of things that anyone has done or will or have accomplished, right, over a period of time. I mean, people might talk about Sir Gary Sobers and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You look at what Bolt has done to track and field in Jamaica, track and field in the Caribbean, and track and field in the world. I don't think there's anyone who has done that in the current scheme of things, probably within the last 10, 20, probably 30 years. And basically has transformed what would have probably been, at the time, probably a dying sport into something now that just about everyone wanted to see. Because he brought track and field to the point where it became one of the most watched sporting events. When it comes to Olympics, for example, because of the Bolt factor, track and field became the most sought, the most watched sporting discipline in the Olympics. World championships at the time, during his time, was rivaling FIFA World Cup, all these other things in terms of viewership.
Yes.
So for me, I would say Bolt because of that Bolt factor. He brought something. I mean, there were others who tag along, but he brought that swag. He brought a lot to it that others, and you'll hear the folks like the Kirani James and others will tell you, they basically got that from the Bolt and all of that.
Patrick?
Yeah, if Magic Johnson was a Caribbean man, I would have gone with Magic. But seeing that he's not a Caribbean man, I'll have to go with Usain Bolt.
You'll have to go with Usain Bolt.
Yes. I think he has the greatest impact.
Well, I too.
Yeah,
and I'm going to take it a little further, Michael, because I support everything you says. And it's not because I'm a Jamaican. There's nothing to do with that. Because I think that, Usain Bolt winning was a win for the entire Caribbean countries. Right? And the entire Caribbean countries would have, engulfed themselves into all of that. But I'll take it a bit further, and I can tell you why too. Usain Bolt, for me, represent the greatest iconic sports ever in the world. You can go far back as Pele, right? You can go far back as Muhammad Ali. And when I say popularity, that's what I'm talking about. And being an icon is not just about more people knowing you, but it's how you transcend the sport, right? And
in addition to that, he did all of that in a time of a digital era, social media, and all of that. So it had a greater impact compared to a Pele and others back then. Whereas people would have just heard about a Pele. Probably if you had the luxury of a television in those days, you could have really see who really Pele is. But Usain Bolt came at a time when there was so much of social media, whether it was TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, television. Just about the average person would have been able to pull up a phone and look at Bolt running.
Yeah.
Watch a clip of Bolt running. Yeah.
People argue that too, right? Because they said, so he existed in an era when he was easily marketed. He was easily seen. He was easily watched. But I tell you this much. If Usain Bolt had run during that time too, if he had run during that time too, if he was doing the same thing during that Pele era, he would have rivaled all of those too. Because one of the most iconic things about Usain Bolt is that the most popular US president ever of all times is still Barack Obama. And when Usain Bolt numbers can outrun the then president at that time, the president was at his highest time, and this is the US we're talking about, was at its highest time in his popularity, right? And Usain Bolt was rivaling that. It says to me, because everybody telling me that, oh, Michael Jordan, yes, I get it. Oh, yes, it was during the social media era, I get it. But I'm saying his level of performance, his level of charismatic, demonstration
And dominance.
would have rivaled even before social media era any icon at all that you can think of. And it's something that is a conversation that we need to have to talk about how Usain Bolt is the greatest sports icon to date ever. Because I can only think of Jordan being Tiger Woods, would have transcended the sport in golf. I can think of the Williams sisters who have transcended tennis, as I said, right? So I can think of those people, but yet still, Usain Bolt number, even now, even not competing, is still above and beyond what you can think about. It's incredible. And I don't even think we as a regional people even start to measure or start to understand the level of impact that he's making on the world. I have all kind of friends here in Canada from all different strata of the globe. But if it's a Jamaica, it's only two names people can recall. And I want to tell you right now, Bob Marley is in a problem. Because everybody talking about Usain Bolt. You understand? Bob Marley is in a problem. It's among the older people that talk about Bob Marley. But everybody else, that's what that's what they recall. So yeah, I support the Bolt thing as well.
Right. I want to thank you guys. Thanks very much for being part of the program. Very educational discussion, I should say. We didn't agree on everything, but at least when Mr. Simmons came on, he started off by disagreeing. he still believed and he still holds the view that cricket, the role of cricket, and that cricket should I say that cricket is I believe that cricket has more or less outgrown its status as king, but I think Mr. Simmons believes that cricket still has some sort of rich cultural heritage.
Culture, yeah.
Yeah, cultural heritage, despite what is happening with the sport in terms of performance, but he still believes that the region should still hold on to that cultural heritage.
When it's bad, man. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I know it's hard to swallow though, but yeah. Nevertheless, thanks very much, folks. Thank you.
I never. Thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah, all the best. Thank you very
All
much.
right.
All right then. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Right, Mike, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks very much, Mr. Simmons. Thank you very much, Richard. All the best. Thank you. Yeah. All right, folks. So that's all for this week's program. Very interesting program indeed on CARICOM and sports. One of the things I really will hope is that, well, I should have asked, should a CARICOM Sports Summit be organized to plan a multi-sport strategy, right? Whether it's, yes, is it long overdue, no current efforts are sufficient, or maybe, but only with private sector support. That's something else we can really talk about another time. Thank you very much, Gordon. Yeah, very much. Thank you. Thank you, George Gotti Robinson, and also Edwin. Yeah, Edwin Sam and others. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Yeah, we covered quite a bit regarding CARICOM, cricket, sports, and whether it should be CARICOM and sports or CARICOM and cricket, Nevertheless, I valued your contributions. Just as a recap, we had some folks who believe that it should be, as one of them said that they agreed with CANOC that cricket is part of our history, but we have world-class athletes in track and field, boxing, swimming, and cycling who deserve the same recognition and investment, and that CARICOM must create a balanced sports development strategy, not just focus on cricket. Then we also had the view that cricket is more than just a sport. It's a cultural legacy that unites the Caribbean like no other game. And while I respect other sports, we shouldn't dilute our identity. Cricket must remain at the heart of our sporting agenda. That's one who basically supported it. And then we had the balanced approach. Yes, cricket is our heritage, but it shouldn't overshadow the incredible achievements of athletes like Shelley and Fraser Price or Kirani James, and saying that CARICOM should invest in all sports equally, using cricket's popularity as a platform to elevate others. Thank you once again, folks. Thank you for being part of our program. Invitation is to join us another time. Not sure if we have a program next week because I think it's travel week I'll be traveling next week, so I'll let you know when we'll have another program. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant weekend.